So in today's web dev tip, we're going to take a quick look at how we can improve the security of our server setup, because at the moment we've got a MongoDB database set up within a Docker container, but we can actually remotely access that from pretty much anywhere in the world. So let me first of all demonstrate that, and then I'll show you how we can secure it so that you can only access the MongoDB database from the server where it's running. So normally if you're on your local machine, if you want to access your local MongoDB instances, you can use the Mongo CLI, the Mongo command line interface, to actually make a connection. But you can actually provide any connection string that you like, such as a remote server address. So what we're going to do is just demonstrate that you can actually do that with our current setup. And you might want to keep it like this if you've got a strong password setup, but generally you'll want to make sure that this is disabled. So when we create the connection string, we say we're connecting to a MongoDB database, and then we put in the username and password. So it's rickandroll is the actual username, and then separated by a colon we paste in the password, and then we provide the host name where we're actually going to be connecting to. So this could be the IP address of our DigitalOcean droplet, but because our domain name points there, it's a bit easier to just use the domain name. And of course we've created our own custom port mappings as well. So 27018 is where the Docker container is exposing the MongoDB database. So if we hit enter now, you should find that that actually connects okay, and we can run any MongoDB commands that we want on the command line there. So this is really handy if you need to run any commands remotely, but obviously someone guesses your password or brute forces your password, they can obviously access your database and do nasty things to it. So just to demonstrate, if you do put the wrong username and password here, so if we remove a character from here, it won't actually let you connect. So this is the message that you will see if you've got an exposed MongoDB database but you put in the wrong details. But what we're going to do is prevent even that from happening by blocking the connections to this particular port. So you can do that on the actual server itself using the Ubuntu built-in firewall software, but DigitalOcean also provides you with a handy firewall tool as well, so you can control it at a kind of group level and create, if you're creating multiple apps and multiple droplets, and make sure they're all following the same firewall rules. So if we go on over to the DigitalOcean console, from the networking option on the left hand side here, if you just click there, you can see you've got this option here for firewalls, and you can see I've got this apps firewall rule set up already. So if you just click on there, you can see here that we've got SSH enabled, so we can still make connections, and we're allowing web traffic, and there's a few other custom ports open as well, but pretty much every other port is blocked. So adding our droplet to this particular firewall rule will ensure that that connection on 27018, which is our custom MongoDB port on Docker, won't be allowed. So if we want to add a new droplet to this firewall rule, we just go into the droplets section here, and then just click add droplets, and then we'll search for the rickandroll droplet that we've got created. I've got a tag there for it, so it's easy to find, and then we just add that droplet in here, and that should be pretty much instantaneous. So now that rickandroll server, the droplet that we've created, shouldn't allow any connections to our MongoDB database. So let's just go back and just try that one more time. So let's try it with the incorrect password to start off with. And you can see that the Mongo CLI is attempting to connect, but after a few seconds we should get a timeout failure. So yeah, you can see here we've got error connecting to the rickandroll.me, operation timed out. So if we now try with the correct password, we should see the same thing. Because it's not the password that's wrong, we're actually preventing access to MongoDB via the firewall. So there you go, our droplet's a bit more secure now. We can't actually connect remotely to the MongoDB database. So just to say as well, if you're on the firewall section in networking here and you haven't already got a firewall set up, which you won't do initially, you can of course just create a new firewall rule, give it a name, and then just allow the ports that you want to allow traffic for on your droplets. So we'll want SSH because we need to connect to make changes, but you'll probably want to actually make sure that we've got HTTP and also HTTPS in there as well. And if you just save those settings and then add your droplets to it, that will do the same thing as the existing firewall that I've got set up. So there you go, that's it for this tutorial. Make sure you stay tuned for more web dev tips.